In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted the background trees for my cabin on the lake painting. I didn't paint the background trees all at once. I tend to skip around quite a bit when I'm doing my paintings, especially while waiting for certain sections of the painting to dry. I'll work on something else. So what I plan to do in this video is to skip around quite a bit, but I want you to still have a good idea of when I did things, so I'm just going to fast forward through the parts that don't really have anything to do with the background trees. So the first step in any of my paintings is to have a quick drawing made up of what I want to paint in basic shapes, just so I have an understanding of where I want to put the various elements in the painting. In this particular case, in the background trees, it's pretty simple. It's kind of hard to see, but there's just a little line in the back there that shows where I want those trees to basically go. I do my block-ins in acrylics. It's a simple, quick way to put down paint that dries really fast. And my main goal here is just to get an understanding for the basic color combinations I want to convey in my painting. At this point, I'm painting a lot slower than I need to here. I'm really analyzing the color that I've chosen. I started with kind of a green tint, and I decided that that really wasn't the color that I was looking for. I wanted to go for a much colder painting. Um, so I'm going to switch it up here in a second and move over to a much more blue tone. Really no green in it at all. Once I get the basic color that I'm looking for here, it's just really a matter of putting on that paint as quickly as possible. Nothing special here, obviously. For the brush, I'm using a mop brush, just a small mop brush. It tends to get paint on pretty quickly. Another benefit of having that acrylic there is once I have chosen the right color, I can immediately just paint over the previous color that I was using because the acrylic dries so quickly. Okay, now that I've got the block-in done and I've put an oil layer on the sky, I'm going to start working on the second layer for the background trees. I'm going to start doing that by adding some gaps in the trees. These gaps will make the tree line look a lot more realistic. No matter how dense a tree line is, there's always some amount of sky that goes through. So I just want to put that down first, and then I'll paint some additional trees over it. Okay, now for the really fun part. I'm actually going to put in the tree line itself. I'm going to build on top of that base dark layer that was put down before because that really just represents that really dense area that's at near the bottom of a tree line. I'm actually using a size 2 filbert brush for this. Normally I would use a size 0 round brush, but in this case I was looking for a little bit softer lines because the trees are so far in the background. The trick here is to really just kind of have fun with patterns. Trees are pretty random things, especially sparse pine trees. So it's just kind of fun to just put random patterns on the trees to just add some realism and some additional texture to the painting. These next two trees I decided are going to be a little bit farther in the background. So in order to accomplish that effect, I chose to lighten up the trees just a little bit more. At this point, I'm going to go over the blocked in area again, but with a little bit more modeled pattern. The blocked in color isn't quite exactly the same color that I was using for the tree line. So I'm actually using that to my advantage here by adding some modeled uh, pieces to the blocked in part that's just a slightly different color. It adds a little bit more depth to the trees, even the denser portions of those trees. Now I'm putting in the very far distant trees in some of the gaps in this line of forest here. These gaps are a good opportunity to show a lot more depth. And for these trees way in the background, I'm going to use a really light color. It's time now to put this line of trees actually in the painting. As of right now, there is really no connection with the painting. They're kind of standing there out on their own with no real effect on the lake shore around it. So at this point, I'm going to be putting in the shadows and some highlights around the trees to give them that feeling that they're actually sitting there on the ground. This is also the phase when I put in the tree trunks themselves. So now that the background trees have had sufficient time to dry, and I was working on other parts of the painting, I'm going to add yet another layer to this background. I'm going to add some hints of hardwoods. So the hardwood trees, they don't have any leaves at this phase in the year, so I'm really just kind of stippling in some lighter colors that look kind of frosty. And then I'm going to be working on some birch tree trunks because who doesn't love birch trees? And it just adds that extra depth to the painting to really make those background trees pop out. This section I'm not too worried about. As you can see when I'm putting down the paints here, it's really just kind of a sporadic dropping of paint. I'm using a tree and texture brush for this. It creates a really nice effect of just a lot of little tiny points. But it doesn't really look very realistic over here. And again, I'm not very worried about it because I plan on putting some foreground trees in front of it, so you won't really see any of this at all when the painting is done. And that's it. The background tree portion of this painting is done now. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.